Oh hey, it's Emily, and today I'm going to be starting a weekly reading vlog. It's actually Thursday, July 23rd, and I recently decided that it would be fun to actually start doing weekly reading vlogs for several reasons. One, I just love watching reading vlogs, and I've had fun making the ones that I've made so far. I don't necessarily have the time to kind of put a lot of time into filming a bunch of different stuff for reading vlogs, getting a bunch of different shots, and putting a ton of time into editing. But I thought trying closer to Murphy's style of vlog, and Chelsea Palmer is starting to do this too. I absolutely love both of their channels. Kind of doing something like that that's a little bit more chill, a little bit more simple, is something that's doable for me right now. And I just thought it'd be a lot of fun. Sometimes I feel like there's just so much time in between when I actually read a book and when I manage to sit down to film a wrap up. And I try to keep some notes to keep my thoughts together, but it still would be kind of nice to talk more about what I'm reading closer to real time, and be able to post that and talk to people about books closer to when I'm actually reading them. So I decided to start weekly reading vlogs where I check in 2 to 3 times a week, kind of update on what I'm reading and what my thoughts are about what I'm reading, and go from there and see if that's something that I can maintain, see if it's something that's doable. So I will start with what I've read this week. This week I finally, last night on Wednesday, finished The Blackland Captain by Chris Wooding. And I've been reading this since the beginning of the month. So physical reading has been kind of slow for me this month, but I've been focusing a lot on different audiobooks that I've needed to listen to in time to get back to the library, or to be able to return to the library. So physical reading has kind of been slow. But I really just wanted to be back with this crew again, and I just really was starting to feel that at the beginning of this month. So I decided to pick this one back up. And this one was so much fun. I just love this crew a lot. Even though the captain is still a bit sexist, I'm still hoping that he'll learn some things about that, maybe in the next books. It's not enough to bother me, it's just sometimes very, very cringe-worthy and eye-roll worthy. But I really enjoyed being back with this crew, and I did realize that although there are some threads from the first one, or some things from the first one that really set up some things in the second one, this is a different adventure that the crew goes on, although it still is best, because of those elements from the first that still tie into the second. It's still best to read them in order, but it does appear so far that it's different kind of main plot lines or main things that the crew is going through in each of the books. But there's still a world that's set up, and there are still players that kind of come into play in the different books. So it's good to read them in order, but it wasn't a direct continuation from the first one in terms of the plot. And I thought that might be the case because the plot was mostly wrapped up in the first one, and I wasn't kind of sure where they would go in the second one, if they were going to continue on with that plot line. But it's a different story, different adventure. And this one follows them as they try to find a treasure. They get contacted by a different captain and an explorer that captain was working with. And there's a treasure that they want to find, that's going to be difficult to get to, but the reward is going to be great if they can find this. And of course, they start to go there, they have some complications, they're searching for this item, and of course once they find it, things kind of go to hell after that, and it's people betraying each other, it's different factions all trying to track each other down, and the captain of the Caddy J and the Caddy J crew trying to figure out what this item really is and why there's so much going on surrounding this item. It was fun. I had a good time reading it. I really did. And once I finished that, because I've been reading something for a few weeks, I really just wanted something that would go by pretty quickly. I was going to turn back to Royal Assassin, but I actually ended up picking up The Burning Page by Genevieve Cogman. This is the third book in the Invisible Library series, so I just read a chapter of this last night, so not much to say yet, but I decided to pick up something that would go a little bit faster. I think it's like 350 pages, and these just have all flown by pretty quickly, and they've just been kind of fun books to read, so I decided to pick this one up instead. On audio, I'm listening to Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and I'm a fifth into that audiobook or so, somewhere in there, somewhere between 20 and 25% into that audiobook, and it's definitely interesting and intriguing so far. It switches back and forth between two different perspectives. So it follows a woman who, as a kid, her family moved into this large house, and they were able to get a really good deal on it because the house has kind of a sinister history. And she's a young kid, she moves into this house with her family, and then after 20 or so days they leave in the middle of the night because they're scared for their lives, and her father ends up writing a book about it, and this book has kind of followed her throughout her entire life, and she's not really sure what really happened or what's going on with this house. And after her father dies, he actually passes the house on to her as part of her inheritance, and so she needs to figure out what to do with this house, and it switches back and forth between her trying to figure out what's going on and why her father left her this house, and chapters of the book that he wrote after they fled this house, some decades before. And so definitely interesting so far. I'm also in the middle of the audiobook for Empire of Gold, so I actually started this one on audio from Libby, and I was able to get access to that audiobook pretty quickly and started listening to it, but I ended up needing to return it before I could finish. I got like halfway through, maybe 45% of the way through, and so I need to actually finish that. And I'm absolutely loving it so far, so I'm really excited to keep going with it. I ended up just using an Audible credit to get the audiobook. I know I'm going to reread the series, and I absolutely love the audiobook, so I thought it would be worth it to use an Audible credit to actually get this audiobook so that I could finish it out. So I'm going to hopefully finish that and work on that sometime this week as well. I need to finish Home Before Dark first too, though, because I also need to return that to the library. I'll have plenty of time though. For this one, I'm less time crunched. There were so many books that came in at once from the library, and so I was trying to get through as many as possible, and just didn't have enough time for Empire of Gold. But Home Before Dark I need to finish so that I can return that, and then I'll continue on with Empire of Gold and The Burning Page. So that's what's going on so far this week. Hi, how are you doing, sir? They're both just so cute. Look at them. Oh, hello. So it is now Sunday. Sunday kind of early afternoon. I'm here chilling with Apollo. He's very not interested in anything I'm doing right now, but he did decide to come join me on the bed and then face the other direction because there are noises going on outside the bedroom, so he's very interested in those. But I just wanted to give you an update on things that I've been doing reading wise since I checked in early on Thursday morning. So I have read a little bit more physically in the Invisible Libraries book, but not too much farther. I think I'm now 50-60 pages into that, so hopefully I can get some more read in that today. And I did finish, I said I was 20-25% into Home Before Dark. I did finish that yesterday morning, and I really enjoyed it actually. I really liked the audiobook. I think both narrators did a fantastic job, and I really think it was so cool to go back and forth between the book and the book that her father has written and her our main character Maggie's present day life. I just thought that was so cool, and I think Riley Sager did a really good job kind of matching, or the tone of what's going on in the book that her father wrote kind of matching what was going on in her life. And I just think that the pacing of that was done really well, I think, and I think it was really cool to kind of things that were happening to her, Maggie in present day, kind of mirrored what was going on in the book, kind of in different ways. And so it was kind of cool for them to kind of ratchet up at the same rate. And so it built up really well, I think, over the course of the book. And I did really enjoy the way things ended. I just thought it was really interesting. I think it was kind of an appropriate ending, and kind of an appropriate explanation for everything. I think all the questions that I had, I think, were answered. And I just had just a really enjoyable experience listening to this. It was a super compelling listen. And I honestly, I could actually see myself rereading this at some point. I think this could just be a fun story to kind of go back to, especially if I'm in the mood for, like, it wasn't too scary or spooky or anything, but just if I want something that's just like slightly thrilling and spooky and kind of involves an old, large, creepy house, if I'm just in the vibe for something like that, I honestly could see myself returning to this and just kind of getting those vibes. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and would recommend the audiobook if that is something you're interested in. So yeah, I finished that yesterday, and I read a little bit more physically in that Invisible Library book, but I didn't get enough, or I say enough, like what is the appropriate level of reading for a day, but I didn't read as much in kind of the second half of the day yesterday, but this morning I did start Red Shirts by John Scalzi, and I did start this on audio. It's something I got on Audible recently. I recently got a bunch of stuff on Audible, and this one I think I actually just straight up used a credit for, but I started Red Shirts by John Scalzi, and this one follows, it's basically just like a book that is a spoof of Star Trek, and it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I think it's hilarious. I've been laughing a decent amount while listening to this one. I'm about halfway through right now, a little bit more than halfway through, and it follows, you know, it's several hundred years in the future, and you know, it follows an ensign that's on this starship. It's kind of the flagship starship for the equivalent of like the Federation, and you know, they start noticing, he very quickly realizes once he gets to this ship that, you know, while they go on away missions, there are some senior officers that that frequently go on these missions and always survive, but for some reason the ensigns and kind of the lower ranked people who go on these away missions, okay, I need to let Apollo out, please hold. He starts realizing that the ensigns and kind of the lower ranked people tend to die very frequently. So he's trying to figure out what's going on and why this keeps happening, what he can do to prevent himself from being next. And it's just like a giant, as I said, it's just a giant spoof of a Star Trek episode, and it's hilarious. It's also narrated by Will Wheaton, and this is the second book that I've read narrated by Will Wheaton, a former Star Trek cast member, where the book specifically mentions Star Trek. Or even like Ready Player One is the other one, and Ready Player One even like specifically mentions Will Wheaton. I just think it's so great that Will Wheaton narrates these books. And so I'm thoroughly enjoying Will Wheaton as a narrator again. So that one's been a delight. I will probably check in one more time tonight to see how much more reading today I can get done, and then I'll just start a new reading vlog on Mondays. I think that's going to be my general schedule. It's like Monday to Sunday, and then start a new vlog on Mondays. So that's what's been going on recently as far as my reading. I will check in a bit. Oh hey, it's Monday morning, July 27th. I thought I would check in last night. Didn't happen. I didn't get a ton more reading done. I was just listening to a little bit more of the Red Shirts audiobook. I'll probably finish that today, but I'm gonna just wrap up the last week of reading, and I'll talk about Red Shirts next week once I actually finish it in that vlog. So for this week I did manage to finish a couple of books, and really enjoyed both of them. So I finished The Black Lung Captain, and I definitely talked about it some after I first finished it, kind of my initial reaction, but yeah, I just love the just adventure, the found family, of this. Like, I just adore this crew, and I love the found family that they have. And I think he does a really good job kind of balancing action scenes with actually really getting to know the characters and some slower character moments. I think he does a really good job of that, and so I've overall really enjoyed this series. There definitely can be some very eye-rolling moments with some of the characters, but it's just been a ton of fun, and I'm really excited to continue. I think the Iron Jackal is next, so I will eventually get to that one. And I also finished Home Before Dark and thoroughly enjoyed that. And I think I said most of what I wanted to in the last clip right after I had finished it, or after I'd finished it. But overall, really enjoyed that one. And I think I could see myself reading that again, which isn't very common for thrillers. It takes a very particular kind of thriller for me to want to actually read it again after I kind of know everything that happens. But I could definitely see myself reading that one again. I just thought it was really well paced. I just thought it was fun and interesting, and I was just engaged the whole time, and it was just such a fun listen. So great reading week overall, and yeah, be sure to tune in next week. I'm really excited to start reading vlogs, even if it's just kind of starting with very simple vlogs with just some clips kind of throughout the week when I can update on my reading. I just don't feel like I read enough on any given day, especially during the week, to really, I don't know, I don't read enough in a day for me to actually have a ton to update on, and so I just feel like a few clips a week is going to be good for right now, and I think that'll be manageable. So let me know what you think of this, or if there are different ways that I could structure this that would still be good and that you would still enjoy. So let me know what you think. I'm very excited to actually be doing weekly reading vlogs, and thank you so much for watching, and let me know how your reading week went, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.